going on, everyone? Jax here, and this week I am with the 2022 Nissan Altima in SR trim, but this is the Midnight Edition, which is why it looks the way it does. I'm really just kidding. It's why it has a bunch of black accents and a few extra options. But let's take a look and see what makes the Midnight Edition worth considering. All right, first things first, I think personally, this is just my opinion, that the Nissan Altima is a relatively handsome midsize sedan. I don't think the Nissan Altima is bad looking at all. I don't know about you guys, but when you're looking at sort of the big three midsize sedans, the Honda Accord, the Nissan Altima, and of course the Toyota Camry, I think the Nissan Altima has kind of the cleanest, most simple exterior design. I mean that in a good way. It's kind of the most traditionally handsome. Now, I will say in terms of Nissan's car lineup, I'm not sure I like the way the Altima looks as much as I like the way that the Nissan Sentra looks. I think the Nissan Sentra, especially in a similar color combo, is a very good looking small sedan. The Nissan Altima is kind of like the Nissan Sentra's less attractive older sibling. Like the older sibling was fine, but then the younger sibling came along and everybody was like, wow, that one's way better looking. My sister is gonna comment on this video, isn't she? I also think that Nissan does accent colors pretty well, and that clean design really sort of favors the accent colors. Well, let's be honest, Nissan does black a lot as an accent color, and on this Midnight Edition, it looks pretty good. I really like Nissan's dark gray and black combos that they put on some of their vehicles. So overall, I would say the Midnight Edition Altima is a pretty handsome looking vehicle. And if you're wondering what that Midnight Edition sort of specifically entails, the big stuff is the 19-inch black wheels, other black accents such as the side mirrors, which also have indicators, which is nice at this price point, heated seats, and a sunroof. So the Midnight Edition gives you a few choice options in a relatively standard Altima. However, we're going to come back to that in a second, so stay tuned. This Nissan Altima is powered by a 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine, making 182 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque, and that runs through a CVT automatic transmission, and it hits the ground via all-wheel drive. Acceleration is unremarkable, but it feels relatively peppy around town, so that's fine. It's definitely not something that you're going to get excited about, but it's also not something that's going to leave you hanging at a red light where everybody else is going or honking at you or shaking their fists at you or doing other hand gestures because your car is so unbelievably slow. It gives you just enough at lower speeds to be exciting. Well, no, exciting is not the right word for that. To be not irritating, but ultimately it's not very fulfilling. It's kind of like the hard seltzer of powertrains. You know, like those commercials where they're like, look how much fun we're all having, despite the fact that my drink tastes like dog shit. Also, I apologize about the sunglasses, but the sun literally can't make up its mind. One minute it's cloudy, the next minute it's blinding, and so here we are behind the wheel of the Nissan Altima Midnight Edition. And I love the fact that it's called Midnight Edition because it sounds like some kind of underground racing video game, which it is not, but it is a cool name. Right away, what strikes me about this car, the Altima, as it compares to the Honda Accord and the Toyota Camry, is that the ride in here is really good. I like the ride quality of the Altima. It's not as firm as the Honda Accord, but it's not as soft as the Toyota Camry. So you have kind of a nice Goldilocks setting in the Nissan Altima, where it's giving you a little of the best of both worlds. It's sporty-ish, but it provides a good level of comfort. And I know this sounds kind of silly because this is not a sports car, but I really like the driving position in the Nissan Altima. The flat-bottom steering wheel is a little bit of an oversell in something like this, in a midsize sedan, but for someone who's tall like me, I'm 6'6", and it gives me a lot of legroom, and I'm able to lower the seat into a nice position, and I'm able to give myself a proper amount of legroom while still maintaining enough space that I can sit behind myself, which in a midsize sedan is pretty fantastic. So I think the driving position of the Nissan Altima combined with these comfortable seats, these seats are very comfortable. They're Nissans, I think they're zero gravity is what they call them or something. NASA technology, space age, insulation, you know, like those memory foam mattress commercials. You could drop a bowling ball on it, your wife could still sleep. And I'm like, that sounds kind of abusive, to be honest with you. They are comfortable seats, and there's a ton of space for someone who is larger in this cabin. Another thing that Nissan does well here is the tuning of this CVT. I know in the past, Nissan got kind of knocked on their CVTs. But here the CVT is fine. It does a good job. It's mostly invisible. It can be a little hesitant to downshift, but I didn't really have any problems with it. I'm in sport mode now, and it's kind of doing a good job of being a little more aggressive. Now we're on the handling road, and this is the first bumpy section, and the Altima does a really nice job controlling itself on the handling road. It reminds me of the Toyota Camry XSE, which has the sportier sort of suspension tuning, but I think the Altima might actually be slightly sportier than the Camry XSE, but not as firm as the Honda Accord. So if the Accord is too much for you, or you think it's too firm, some people like a plusher ride, not me, but some people do, then you might really like the Nissan Altima's ride, because it's giving you that control that you get from the Accord, but it's not kind of like getting out of sorts. It's not quite as floaty as the Camry. Not that the Camry's floaty, but a little bit. Here's the bump. That's really well done, honestly, on these 19-inch wheels. So I would say the Nissan Altima is a great middle ground between the Accord and Camry as it applies to a road like this. Another thing that I like about the powertrain, the 182 horsepower four-cylinder with the CVT and all-wheel drive, is that it kind of prioritizes low-end peppiness. So when you're driving it around town, like in the suburbs where I am, it feels, you know, enthusiastic off the line. It's not fast at all. But in that first 0 to 30, you don't feel like, uh-oh, like looking around in traffic. It gives you enough acceleration. It gives you that kind of like quick hit of acceleration before it rapidly tapers off. Now, I had to do a lot of highway driving this weekend because I had to work downtown Atlanta. So I live about 45 minutes away from where I was working, and on the highway, I would say the four-cylinder is enough. It's not going to bother you. And I got great gas mileage. I was averaging around 32 miles per gallon this week, which I did a ton of driving in a very short amount of time. So 32 miles per gallon, considering what I was doing, is quite good. So I really was using this Nissan Altima like someone who might commute. They might have a longish commute from the suburbs. And thanks to the very quick and easy to use infotainment, I really like Nissan's infotainment system, the comfortable ride, the decent fuel economy. I was having a great experience despite the longish drive in from the suburbs. So the Altima is a comfortable, if unremarkable, kind of daily driver if you have commuter duty. Dynamically, the brakes are really good. I like the brakes a lot. They're fine in terms of power, but they're calibrated very nicely. It's very smooth and progressive. Pedal feel is nice. You got the all-wheel drive. I will say, I normally kind of downplay the need for all-wheel drive if you live in the South like I do. I live outside of Atlanta. But I did encounter one really, really bad sudden rainstorm, which we tend to get here in the summer. And because it was so sudden, there was a lot of standing water, and I happened to be driving on the interstate to Atlanta at the time. So I did appreciate that little bit of extra security, that little bit of extra confidence I have with the all-wheel drive system, because it was a pretty nasty downpour. So if you want that extra security blanket, it is nice in a midsize sedan to have the all-wheel drive. The one dynamic flaw that I will point out to you guys is the steering is just, it's a little twitchy off center. I feel like it's something that you would probably get used to if you own the car. But I feel like the problem for me is that the wheel, the feedback is light, the steering is light and not a lot of effort. And there's just this little bit of kind of like twitchiness right as it goes off center. And I'm already, after almost a week with the car, kind of over it, and it's not really bothering me as much. But I did notice on the interstate, when you're traveling at these, 70-mile-per-hour speeds or so, that does result in some like corrections. You're having to like correct yourself a little bit more. And this car has lane departure warning, but it doesn't have lane assist. So in an interstate driving situation over long stretches, you might be kind of adjusting the wheel more than you would in something like a Honda Accord. Now, if that's not in your daily use case, then you probably don't even care. You wouldn't notice it, but I just want to point that out. I did notice it in this car versus some of its competitors like the Camry. Other than that, this is a very comfortable and easy to live with midsize sedan. So if you're kind of looking for something in that Goldilocks zone between the Accord and the Camry, or you can find a good deal on something like a Nissan Altima, I think you'll be very happy with where this car sits in comparison to those two competitors. Inside, the interior is really nice. I think at this price point, the materials are pretty good. You have sort of the fake stitching and semi soft touch material across the top of the dash. The design is attractive. You got the flat bottom steering wheel. It feels good. These seats are incredibly comfortable. I really like these seats. They're almost, I would say for my taste, they're borderline on too comfortable, but I could totally see how some people would absolutely adore seats that are this kind of moldy, not moldy Nissan, they mold to you is what I meant to say. That's one of those things that in hindsight I probably should have cut out of the video, which makes this a very meta kind of moment, the fact that it's in the video and I should have cut it out of the video and I'm the one editing the video. Anyway, but the materials are good, and I also like Nissan's screens, both the infotainment screen, which was running Nissan's kind of infotainment system, and it just works so well. I really like Nissan's infotainment system. It looks kind of nice without being kind of gaudy. It works so easily and so well, connects so fast. It's just very simple, but it also doesn't look dated, and it doesn't look like it's going to look dated in a couple of years. So I appreciate that. I think Nissan does a good job with the infotainment system. I also think the center screen here works better, in my opinion, than the center screen in the Toyota Camry. So they have a similar setup with analog gauges kind of flanking a central driver information screen. And in the Camry, the driver information screen looks kind of old and outdated. And here in the Altima, it's just a little crisper. It looks a little nicer. If I'm being 100% honest with you guys, they give you practically the exact same information. But something about the Nissan screen just looks a little bit more with the times. It looks a little bit more up to date, kind of like the infotainment system. I've lamented about this in the Camry for a while. I think Toyota's infotainment system is very simple to use, but it's rapidly looking very old, and it needs to be replaced across the lineup with the new one that's in the Tundra. Nissan's just seems to age better. It's a little newer, it's a little fresher, it's a little more functional, and I think it adds something to a car that's not a base model, but it's also not a super fancy one. One thing that does kind of suck with the screens though is the backup camera. The backup camera, and I've complained about this on a couple of Nissans, the backup camera just looks like garbage. And what's with the manual climate control? Like seriously, what is with that? You have the Midnight Edition package that gives you heated seats and a sunroof, but you have manual climate control? You don't have dual zone automatic climate control? For $31,500, you don't get dual zone automatic climate control? That was a stupid decision, whoever made that call. That was an idiotic decision in a car at this price bracket trying to give you a nice option set. That's like going to Applebee's and then being served McDonald's. You're like, I thought I was gonna get something kind of decent, but no, you gave me trash. If midsize sedans are dying and you're trying to sell them, you're trying to make the ones that you do have more attractive, why would you deny it options? It's the same thing with the radar cruise control. This car doesn't have radar cruise control. My daughter's ultra base model stripped down RAV4 has radar cruise control. Why does this not have radar cruise control or a lane keep assist system. That just seems like a massive oversight on something that is otherwise doing a pretty good job. Oh, on the positive side, it is also very spacious in here, and I can nearly sit behind myself. I mean, I kind of can wedge in behind myself, and that is impressive considering how tall I am. I mentioned this in the driving portion. It's a very spacious cabin. It feels airy, it feels bright. You get over 15 cubic feet of trunk space, which is very nice. So there are some big positives to this. This feels like a very large car, even though it's not all that large from the outside, but it is a midsize sedan with like sort of big sedan feel inside. So should you buy this Nissan Altima SR with the sort of midnight edition package? Well, personally, when I'm recommending midsize sedans, which is increasingly less often because nobody wants midsize sedans anymore, I always recommend the Honda Accord first and foremost. It is my 100% favorite midsize sedan. I adore the Honda Accord. I'm 100% biased to the Honda Accord, so take that with a grain of salt. I'm telling you right now, 100% honesty, that I am biased towards the Honda Accord. I've owned several of them and I love them. In my opinion, this Altima is kind of like tied with the Toyota Camry. I really like the Camry in a lot of ways, and I really like this Altima in a lot of ways. And each of them has some attributes that I would say kind of puts them in direct competition with each other. I think the exterior styling is a wash for me. I think the interior space and comfort, maybe I'd lean slightly more towards the Altima, definitely when it comes to infotainment. But with the Camry, you get that more comfortable ride. The Altima, you get the more buttoned down ride. So that would sort of be driver preference. Also, I would probably skip this midnight edition and maybe get like an SR and be a little bit more thoughtful about the options that I'm picking. So I feel like I'm getting a little more value out of that and target that kind of $32,000. This car is $31,500, so target that sort of 32 range and try to option it up in a way that feels like more personal. This is not how I would option a car. It does bug me that it doesn't have the dual zone climate control and the radar cruise control, and I would gladly sort of sacrifice some of the black accents and the exterior style for some of the options that I want. But here's kind of a big problem for the midnight edition. You can get a Honda Accord Sport Special Edition, or whatever they're calling it, for the exact same price, and it's better in every single way. And it comes with the same options, plus Honda sensing, radar cruise control, and dual zone automatic climate control. And guys, at the end of the day, if I'm being honest with you, I would pick that every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So that leaves me with an interesting question for you. We are in a rapidly dwindling midsize sedan market, and we're down to kind of these three main players: Honda Accord, Nissan Altima, and Toyota Camry. And I'm working on a video right now kind of talking about this topic, but I want to know, to sort of help me formulate an opinion, do you think midsize sedans can survive for much longer? I think those three cannibalize each other's sales in the tiny sliver of the market that's still interested in midsize sedans. And if the Accord reigns supreme, how much longer can the other two survive as that piece of the pie shrinks? It's an interesting proposition, and it's a little bit depressing if you're like me and you enjoy driving midsize sedans. I would pick a midsize sedan over a crossover and SUV all the time, no hesitation. But the choices are running out, and I want to hear from you. Which would you choose? Why? And would you even choose a midsize sedan? I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you would. So thanks for watching, thanks for being here. If you found value in it, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share it with anyone who is considering a midsize sedan. And until next time, ride safe, drive safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Why is there a mailman at a public park? Who could you possibly be delivering mail to? Is it like Domino's? Are they like, we'll just meet you anywhere?